FSU mass shooter is the stepson of a deputy, Phoenix Ikner. On April the 17th, 2025, a 20-year-old Florida State University student decided to open fire on campus at what seems to be complete strangers and civilians, injuring 6 people and tragically killing 2 innocent men. He now has been named as Phoenix Ikner, although that's not his only name, and he is in fact the stepson to a Leon County deputy called Jessica Ikner, who is also said to have apparently taken the mass shooter to a firing range to practice shooting. See, this is my issue in America, taking younger people to practice shooting or just doing it outside for fun with their children, as too many end up being future killers who have practice behind them. It's worrying for me. I mean, every killer started off as a child. Facts, obviously. It's a shame really, as I'm sure the deputy and stepmother of this mass murderer had no idea what he would do, but we don't know that as facts yet. And he has now completely tarnished her name. Jessica Ikner is actually very well respected and spent around 18 years dedicated to law enforcement, even being named and awarded the Law Enforcement Officer of the Year 2023. So clearly a decorated deputy who worked incredibly hard for her community. But unfortunately, on that fateful morning of the 17th of April 2025, Jessica's stepson, Phoenix, decided to do the unthinkable. And on that day, he even took with him one of his stepmom's ex-service weapons, along with other guns apparently, further tarnishing her name. So what actually happened that dark morning? At 11 AM, Phoenix entered an FSU parking garage with horrific intentions. God knows what was running through his mind, or why he was so angry that he had to open fire at the campus to whoever was around. We may never know. But for up to an hour, Phoenix paced back and forth in the garage, perhaps thinking and planning his next move. And then at 11:51 AM, he decided for whatever reason to leave the parking lot on foot, and between just 5 and 6 minutes later, the first shot would be fired. He then moved in and out of the buildings and green spaces surrounding the campus, just firing away with a handgun. And by 11:58 AM, law enforcement began receiving multiple calls and reports of a male active shooter on the Florida State University campus. Luckily, there were police officers nearby who heard the shooting rampage and began responding instantly. Bet you didn't plan for that now, did you, Phoenix boy? Because of the fantastic and immediate response from local officers to the scene, by noon the threat had been taken down. But thankfully, officers managed to shoot him and injure the 20-year-old and not fatally wound him, meaning he will now face justice for his crimes. Who knows, perhaps it would have ended in suicide, as they quite often do, their last bit of control in this world. But who did he really want to kill that day? Just anybody? Who knows, as since his arrest, Phoenix has pled the fifth and decided to say naff all about the entire incident and why he did it in the first place. I'm sure we'll find out more soon enough though. He began by firing near the Student Union building. FSU sent a text to the campus community warning of an active shooter. It said, "Continue to seek shelter and await further instructions. Lock and stay away from all doors and windows, and be prepared to take additional protective measures." Man, that would have been just so goddamn terrifying to receive, right?
Attention. Attention. This is an FSU alert. A dangerous dangerous or life-threatening situation exists on campus. Take shelter now in a secure location.
Really, I mean, you really just see the panic in people's faces and everybody's sort of running away, not really understanding what's going on as far as I understood. A lot of people were saying they thought it was construction at first. It's very hard to decipher unless you've heard a gunshot. You don't really know what's going on.
There's some yelling, maybe some screaming. If I look up, I stand up from where I'm eating, I turn around out of the table, and all these people are running towards me.
Sent a chill down my spine seeing that same alert.
This is the only country where this regularly happens, and every time it happens we hear there's nothing that can be done about it.
Came out this door right here, and then he saw the maintenance guy who was waving everybody, and I guess heard him probably, and turned and shot that way towards our direction, towards him. That was meant for him. And then after that he turned this way and started shooting out on the green.
There were students running for their lives, not knowing who or why this was happening, just praying that they got out of there alive. Many hid in rooms and created makeshift barriers for protection, calling their loved ones to inform them of the horrific events unfolding. Gosh, I just imagine being one of those mums or dads, just so helpless, so scary, and happening more and more often. The 20-year-old shooter was, in fact, himself a member of the Leon County Sheriff's Office Youth Advisory Council. He even took part in a number of training programs, all just steps to get closer to the Leon County Sheriff's Office family and learn from them. Incredibly worrying, to say the least. People who knew Phoenix even admitted they were not shocked that it was him who was named as the shooter. He has even been linked to radical ideas. One student named Lucas Luzzietti, a politics student who shared a class with Phoenix, said that he would get into multiple arguments with the future mass murderer, just about how gross the things were that he said. Lucas commented how Phoenix would try to sell right-wing conspiracy theories and hateful ideas. He also said few students, if any, were close to Phoenix, although he would often spend time after class speaking with the professor. Lucas even stated, "I remember thinking this man should not have access to firearms, but what are you supposed to do?" Well, if you do fear someone may actually act on radical ideas, you should certainly bring this to law enforcement's attention, especially if they have access to firearms. Phoenix was said to be a political science major and seemed to be heavily on Donald Trump's side, which doesn't really mean anything, it's just a fact I believe I found. Police are trying to find a reason, though, for this male's sick and unprovoked attack that Thursday morning. When Phoenix Ikner was approached by responding officers that day, he did not comply with any demands and was subsequently non-fatally shot by police, but expected to survive and face the long arm of the law. The Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare said that the 2 of the 6 injured victims were expected to be discharged, I think maybe that Friday. The conditions of the victims are improving, luckily, but their lives will inevitably never be the same again, mentally, physically, and emotionally. Donald Trump since commented on the matter of Phoenix having access to guns and his stepmother's service weapon, saying this: "Luke, I'm a big advocate of the Second Amendment. I have been from the beginning. I protected it. And these things are terrible, but the gun doesn't do the shooting, the people do." It's a phrase that's probably used too often.
I'm a big advocate of the Second Amendment. I have been from the beginning. I protected it. And these things are terrible. But the gun doesn't do the shooting, the people do.
I mean, I do agree with him and that statement, but If bad people never have access to weapons in the first place, then they cannot go on to use them and commit cold-blooded murders. So, what does everyone think of this? And Trump's statement? And the Second Amendment? That Thursday, the start of the Easter weekend of 2025, Phoenix Ikner would choose to go on and use both his stepmother's service weapon and another gun to go on a senseless, violent rampage, aiming to kill anyone in his path, it seems. But we don't know, as of yet, just how many rounds he fired in total. But he wanted to terrify everybody on the FSU campus that day. He wanted to be in complete control and instill fear amongst all that were there that morning. But why? I really hope we get to see an interrogation tape of this utter scumbag one day, and I hope that they squeeze every last bit of information out of him. He will have a terrible time in prison, I can guarantee. But tragically, this tow rag did manage to senselessly murder 2 innocent men, just going about their days, no idea that their lives would be taken in a flash, and that the morning of the 17th of April would be the last time that their loved ones would see them alive or hear their voices. Just absurd, crazy, and pathetic, actually. The 2 innocent victims that were there that day were both male, and neither of them were campus students, but instead working there. One man has been named as a 45-year-old father, Tiru Chabe. He was an executive for campus vendor Aramark and was the regional vice president of Aramark Collegiate Hospitality. He was married and had 2 children, a hard-working, loving father and husband, just taken for no reason. Tiru Chabe's family has hired attorneys to hold those responsible for this sickening act. Bakari Sellers, a national civil rights attorney of the Strom law firm, and Jim Barrister will represent them and fight for justice for their loved one, taken from them for no reason at all. A callous act. The second male who was brutally shot and murdered was a university dining worker named Robert Morales, who was also a beloved high school's football coach and worked at the Florida State University's dining service department as a dining coordinator since 2015. He was described as a respected colleague with a big heart, a great guy, and a real family man. Robert Morales was a Miami native who was said to have been admired as the trusted coach and a cherished friend. His brother commented saying he loved his job at FSU, also that he was glad he had him in his life. So sad. Robert also leaves behind his loving wife and daughter, just tragic and utterly senseless. Both males were working that day of the shooting. Since the horrifying and brutal rampage that day, screenshots of Phoenix online history were captured by the Anti-Defamation League and shared with USA Today. They show how the shooter was an extremely active gamer and probably spending most of his free time online and on games, as he seems to lack friends or the capacity to be socially acceptable. It was said that Phoenix had a troubling fascination with Adolf Hitler and Nazi Germany. He even used Hitler's face as his own profile picture for a gaming account, with a speech bubble saying 9 next to the infamous dictator. I always find that incredibly weird and troubling. Like, are you just trying to say how you really feel through your profile photos? I see some right strange ones on Facebook. And yes, I do believe that. Yet another worrisome sign of Phoenix Ikner's true feelings was again through an online account, this time by using the name Schutzstaffel. Schutzstaffel. Schutzstaffel? Schutzstaffel. I don't know how you say it. Schutzstaffel. Which was actually the name of the paramilitary group that began as Hitler's personal bodyguard and eventually entrusted with leading the execution of the Holocaust. I mean, come on, he's screaming, "I'm not right in the head." Like, who on earth would use that name, knowing full well what it stands for? It's like he wants attention. He's craving for people to notice him, to recognise who he really is. And a lot of the time, we are noticing you, we just can't do anything. These traces give us an insight into the mind of a killer. Searches were found that Phoenix made, such as scientific racism and National Confederate flag. Another account linked to the shooter used the symbol for the Patriot Front, which is the leading white nationalist group in the US, which formed in the aftermath of the white supremacist rallies that took place in Charlottesville, Virginia, in August of 2017, where at least one person died. So, was this based on race and hatred toward anyone who wasn't white? Again, we do not know as of yet why he chose to do what he did that day, but these findings are certainly very interesting to say the least, and I can't wait to find out more. Florida State University students, faculty, and members of the community gathered for a vigil on Friday the 18th of April 2025 to mourn and honour the victims of the senseless campus shootings. This whole ordeal will have affected so many countless lives. I believe much more will soon come out about this sickening scumbag and perhaps his reasonings behind the unfathomable act. And hopefully we will see some interrogation footage. If so, I may make an update video on this. I know exactly what kind of a coward and sado this male is, because I've done so much research into the minds of sick killers, just like him, that just crave to be noticed and in some sort of control. But I shall say no more until we have hard facts. But there will never be a reason or excuse to have taken 2 innocent lives that day. 2 fathers and husbands, and so much more to the community. Utterly heartbreaking and just no need at all. Desperate and pathetic. Thank you for watching. I hope you liked how I put this all together, but what a completely pointless, futile, needless, sickening, and to be honest, absolute cowardly act that morning, by a sad loser, just wanting to be noticed. It's become some sort of sick badge of honour becoming a school shooter, which are, most of the time, committed by males who have hardly any friends or the capacity to be socially acceptable to others around them and in this world, many of whom have sick and twisted ideologies that they often keep close to themselves for many years, or even most of their lives, until that perfect moment they can finally be noticed by committing horrific acts and crimes like mass murder. Notice me. Again, a lot of us do notice you, and we see your obvious signs on social media, but what can we do? It's completely different if you know that someone has got access to firearms though. If you are worried about anyone having ideologies and acting on them, please report this to your local law enforcement. Do not just stand by. It may be shocking to some that this male's stepmother was a deputy, but not to me. I mean, what difference does that make, really? She actually bears no relevance to this story, really. Besides being totally used by her stepson to gain closer access to the Leon County Sheriff's Department. God only knows what he really learned along the way, taking full advantage of having a family member who was in law enforcement. And you know he's going to have got perks, clearly. But again, this doesn't mean that Jessica Ikner had any idea what was going on, but we will soon find out, I feel. While considering this complete pleb was shot and taken down without being killed in the process, I think this means that the families of both Tiro Chaba and Robert Morales and all of the other victims and people affected by Phoenix Ikner's atrocious acts will most certainly see justice for his unprovoked and horrific attack on innocent people just going about their day and working hard to provide for their loved ones.
Our Deputy Ikner has been with the Leon County Sheriff's Office for over 18 years. She has a tremendous job that she's done. Her service to this community has been exceptional. Unfortunately, her son had access to one of her weapons. That was one of the weapons that was found at the scene. And we will continue that investigation into how that weapon was used and what other weapons perhaps he may have had access to. The alleged shooter was also a long-standing member or youth advisory council. So he has been steeped in the Leon County Sheriff's Office family, engaged in a number of training programs that we have. So it's not a surprise to us that he had access to weapons.
But I will tell you this. We will make sure that we do everything we can to prosecute and make sure that we send a message to folks that this will never be tolerated.
Casey and I stand in solidarity and are praying for the entire Florida State community. We're mourning the two individuals who lost their lives in this tragic attack, and we wish well those who are currently recovering in the hospital. This killer must and will be brought to justice to the fullest extent of the law. I want to also thank the law enforcement personnel who were on the scene, both for the university as well as for the city of Tallahassee. They ran towards the danger. They stopped this killer from inflicting more harm, and there is no question that they saved lives.
Unfortunately, her son had access to one of her weapons.
I will try and follow the case, and as I said, perhaps do an update video at some point too. If you like this episode, please press that little like button right there and let me know in the comments your thoughts on this whole ordeal. He's just a lily-livered coward who will find prison very hard. Let's hope that Phoenix Ikner, originally born Christian Gunnar Erickson, and who chose the name Phoenix because of its representation of rising from the ashes, will burn in hell for eternity for what he did and face the full extent of the law. I appreciate you all being here. Please subscribe if you haven't already for more videos like this, plus much more. True crime, murder, and other random stuff. Till next time, Random Gem.